7 o'clock. Thanks, Sean.
Wow, that was good. Thank you, Sean. Welcome to Position Neutrality. We start every session of Position Neutrality with a prayer, and Wayne has agreed to do that for us tonight.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, Lord, and thank you for your presence, Lord. We know that all things work together for good, Lord, and we just ask that you light a fire in our souls, that we may be examples for you and lights for you in this world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Wayne. Amen. And, whoa, somebody's got to, who's playing it loud? Don't play it live in here. Thanks for everyone. Stefan, we heard from you today in Philadelphia. Appreciate you. All you guys up in Canada, thank you for tuning in. Some of you on delay. And Eric, thanks for being so faithful, even though you're still recuperating. Who? Carrie and Michelle. And who else are we missing? Elliot. All right, so a special shout out to them. Chris in Lubbock, thanks for being so faithful, brother. Anyway, so what we do at Position of Neutrality, if you haven't been with us before, is we take a look at the suggested instruction for a step or so a week directly out of this book. And we use this book in 12-step recovery. Why? Yeah, the process described by the authors of this book's been proven to work for addicts of the hopeless variety, addicts to alcohol and other substances, and indeed all other human behaviors, any other behavioral disorder. We have a solution for it found within you. Yeah? So tonight we're going to be taking a look at the instructions for steps 10 and 11. So we're going to talk about things that a lot of people, I don't think, in fellowships fully comprehend what the authors are suggesting, but we'll try and make it relevant for you, especially those, the original fellowship, half of them were atheists or agnostic, so they would have no idea the disciplines that they were talking about or where they came from. The more religious types may have forgotten, at least if they were Christian religious types, they may have forgotten some of these teachings, but we're going to try and amplify for both here because we try not to exclude anybody with what we do in Position of Neutrality and make it make sense so that you can grow in it. I'm going to start on page 83 of your book. And what a lot of people in fellowships are shown are the promises, or the 12-step promises, are actually the 9th step promises, which is where we're going to pick up from. And I want you to consider the 9th step promises are not worldly things. They're states of being as you awaken to the spirit within you. Does that make sense? So when they start talking about not regretting the past, that doesn't mean we're focused on the past. We just know that the past that we've been delivered from is useful to somebody that's going through it or preparing to go through it. Yeah. And so when appropriate, we are properly armed with our facts about ourselves, and we can tell them the story of how that went down. But in order to be able to do that, we need to sort of stay awakened ourselves. So we're going to start with the 9th step promises, which is our spirit beginning to wake up within us. And then we're going to start looking at 10 and 11, which is the disciplines through which I maintain that awakened state of spirit and strengthen that. Does it make sense? All right. So bottom of 83, if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. So now that I've explained what that is, we understand this phase of our development. As I've taken an inventory, I've learned the facts about myself, I've shared them with another human being. I've learned that the flow of the Spirit isn't conceptual, that it's sensory and it's tangible. And I've started to learn to discern between the way I think and the way the Spirit would prefer I act. Yes? Okay. So then it says we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. So when they say new, what do they mean?
Never before.
Yeah, unlike anything I've experienced before. So they're not talking about abstinence per se, although that may be unfamiliar to us. They're talking about what I asked for in 3, right? What did I ask for in 3?
Freedom from the bondage of self.
Relieve me of the bondage of self. So I'm starting to experience that now. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then it says, we'll not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We kind of talked about that. Don't live in the past, but when appropriate, you go visit it to either remind yourself what you're going through is passing, or whatever you're seeing someone else is going through. You can encourage them that we get through those things. Yep. All right. So we'll comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. I like the way the authors talk to us about states of being. Focus on that just a little bit. Comprehend and know.
Right.
That's deeper than an intellectual exercise, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to know peace is not necessarily to be absent the storm, but to be peaceful in the storm.
Right.
Yes?
Yeah.
All right. So no matter how far down the scale we've gone, we'll see how our experience can benefit others. Yes?
Yes.
And I would caution you, you will if you continue and you go and show others what you've been shown. You'll get a little stale if you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. How many of you have fallen into states of uselessness and self-pity and then went out and helped somebody and found
Yes.
that disappeared again?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. How many of you started to realize that the selfish things cause my suffering, and when I focus on how I can help others, somehow I become unburdened?
Yeah.
So it's a state of being. It's not for us to lecture about. You need to walk it out and have the experience, yeah? All right, so self-seeking will slip away. Now they're promising me. I'll quit participating in the selfish condition by self-seeking, and I'll start turning my thoughts to how I can help. A window opens into our consciousness when we turn our thoughts to another,
Right.
and it allows for something new to come in. Make sense? All right, so our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Now, they talked about us needing a revolution, right? We needed a revolution in the way we lived and thought. And now they're talking about how that's happening. We think of a revolution, we often think suddenly, but it's not necessarily always suddenly, is it? Sometimes it's a process of viewing the world differently and then suddenly discovering, wow, I don't think the way I used to think. Yeah? All right. So fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. A lot of times people don't get that. Fear of economic insecurity and fear of people generally comes from me confronting those fears and starting to engage with people. And I'm probably going to go through some economic insecurity. And for many of us who had behavioral disorders around economic insecurity that cause us to behave in criminal patterns, now it's not necessary to do that because that's no way to build lasting foundations. Yes? All right, so we'll intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. How many of you have had profound experiences of that?
Oh, yeah. Huge.
I mean, sometimes in the beginning, it's just simple. Like I could not get to work or keep a job. And even when I could get to work, they would drug test and then I couldn't keep. Yeah? So that baffled me. Yeah?
Yeah.
But now, and then later on, it's all kinds of, for one thing, as we grow in the spirit, we perceive problems less. So there's less that needs to be solved. Does it make sense? All right, so we'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. How many of you have had a relapse and got stuck in the cycle, spree and remorse, and then suddenly that gorilla got off your back again as you started serving, and you realize I did everything I knew to do, and I could not get that off my mind. It just all of a sudden it's gone. Yeah, that's a state of being. We just realize we're no longer tethered to something, don't we? It's different than I don't pick up no matter what. How many of you have stopped smoking? How many of you have had it removed? Have you noticed that's a different experience?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't notice what everyone else is doing. We don't care if they're smoking around. I mean, it's not the most pleasant odor, but who cares? Whatever. You know? So then it says, are these extravagant promises?
Yes.
Yeah, Carrie Ann says, yes, they are extravagant. And the thing is, if you look at them, the reason the authors would want to do that is because they wanted us to understand, look, we know who we're talking to. We tend to embellish things. We tend to oversell. They're trying to reassure us they're not overselling this. There's more and more and more, right? So it says, we think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And then they give us a promise. I don't know why it doesn't hang on any walls. They will always materialize if we work for them. So there's a promise and condition. If you're burdened by the world and your thoughts about your situation and you're doing the things suggested, they will always, these promises, that freedom, that free indeed state that we all crave will materialize. And this is not theories, these are facts from their experience, yes? So you see why you need to understand and you need to help others understand these are states of being. This isn't the new car. This isn't the dream job. This isn't the dream relationship. Those are all worldly things. These are otherworldly things. Yeah? All right. So then it says this thought brings us to step 10. So what thought? They'll always materialize if we work for them. And then they're going to tell us what that work looks like in awakening and serving. Yes? All right. So which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So they said continue. So if I'm continuing, when did I start? Yeah, everyone agree with Sean? I don't know, those of you online may not hear him, but I learned to take inventory in a particular way and in the step 4 practice. And then armed with the facts about myself, I was able to figure out what it was I needed to make amends for. And so they're suggesting I do that when? Continuously as we go along. That's why we want to encourage people. If you've been shown the steps as a workbook exercise, it is not a workbook exercise. I know it's a manner of living, and all these things fold into one another. They're all inclusive, not mutually exclusive. It's about waking up, right? Okay, so we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So if you've armed yourself with the facts about yourself and you've sorted out what you were willing to do, what you weren't yet willing to do, what you're praying for willingness to do, then you might as well go prove that you're willing and go do some of it. Make sense? All right, so we have entered the world of the Spirit. They didn't equivocate, did they? Now, think about that. If you're coming from a more religious background, that may not sound like much of a thing to say. But if you came from the atheist or agnostic persuasion, they obviously have had a different experience, haven't they? We have entered the world of the Spirit. So then it says our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So what do they mean, understanding of what? Effectiveness at what?
Understanding who we are and effectiveness of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Effectiveness of helping others. Maybe.
Well, and what help looks like. Understanding the difference between my voice and his voice. How many of you are pretty sure whatever you're fixing to do was God-led and found out later, nope, that was Joe. So I'm going to need to grow in what's up, right? And then be more effective at applying. Because what we're not supposed to do is we don't want to put our work on a service plane. If it's not going to be helpful, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm called to give to everyone who asks of me, but not necessarily what they ask of me if it's going to hinder their progress. Right? If what they really need is company and companionship and someone to unburden to, then me handing them $20 is probably not going to help. Right? Okay, so this is not an overnight matter. What's not an overnight matter? Growing in understanding and effectiveness. Means you're going to have to do more of it. How many times did you go to the trap house?
Every day.
Did you ever go more than once a day?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you drinkers? Did you ever, after that first sip, have another? So you may have to practice it like you mean it, right? All right. So then it says it should continue for our lifetime. What was the step 3 decision? My thoughts and my breath to advocate for my brother and sister for a lifetime. In exchange to live out my life and truly live, I'm going to live for a higher purpose. Yeah? All right, so continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I'm going to continue. When did I start?
Step 4.
See,
We
Sean.
always argue about this.
In step 4, what I learned was I was shown how my fear drove me, 100 forms of fear drove me in different ways. Myself manifested. And through dishonesty, lies I tell me, and self-seeking behavior, I found myself in selfish conditions. And I unwound all that to get armed with my, what had really happened, how my loss of identity, not knowing who I was and whose I was always trying to people please or think more highly of myself than I ought. And as a result, I did harm to others and found myself in a pickle. Yeah. And so I'm going to continue to watch for those. What am I going to be watching now because of step 4? I'm going to be watching my thoughts. Yes. People think they're watching out here, but I'm not, because I don't really see out here. I only see my thoughts. And I'll never know what to do to help you until I get my thoughts out of the way, right? My judgments. All right, so when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove. So they didn't say if these crop up. They said when. So when you've been delivered from one deplorable state, if you don't stay disciplined, the likelihood is some of that stuff returns. One book says 7 more will come in from the arid places, and you'll end up worse than you were. How many of you have ever hit that pipe one more time just to celebrate something? How many of you missed your get back to my sobriety date meeting? I just kept moving it. So it says we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly. If we've harmed anyone, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Remember, there's nothing in the step, the manner of living, that suggests I can help me, and I'm powerless. That's what I started. An admission of a condition I find myself in. And so if you don't like the idea of being powerless, that's fine. It's not required that you like the idea. But admitting it would be good if you're really struggling. And we're powerless over a lot more than we think. And the reality is that those are the disciplines I need to be walking in, those principles I practice in all my affairs: watch, ask, discuss, turn. That's what they're talking about in that little paragraph, right? And so that's why turning my thoughts to someone else opens me up to a new experience. Yeah? And so the one I can help is probably the one who's annoying me. That's what I'm trying to. Okay. And then it says love and tolerance of others is our code. So love what? Tolerate what?
Love the alcoholic, tolerate
Their behavior.
Yeah. And in fact, it's wider even than the alcoholic, but love the people, love the principle, love the institution, tolerate, right? They wouldn't be there in authority over me at this minute if they weren't teaching me something, because I serve a power that makes sure I don't have any wasted moments anymore. Does it make sense? Sometimes, what did the amends teach you? How many of you had court dates and fines and couldn't get a driver's license and couldn't get anybody have incarceration? Lost your liberty? Did any of you learn something from it?
Yeah.
Did the guy who went in come out different, or did he stay there and a new guy came out? Yeah, that old guy stayed in there and you came out, and if that didn't happen, you going back. right? So, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. Yeah, that's powerful, isn't it? Wayne goes, whew. That's why I always want to encourage, if your plan is to not pick up no matter what, you're doing it wrong. You can do it any way you want, but that's not AA. It's been removed. It's a different experience. Okay? So, for by this time, sanity will have returned. What did they say insanity was?
Taking a drink, knowing you're an alcoholic. The ability, serious lack of proportion, the ability to think straight.
Yeah, Bill called it an appalling lack of proportion.
Right.
So how many of you had everything going all right again? You got your feet under you, and then you just burned it all down because you decided, what the heck? Yeah, so that would be an appalling lack of proportion, right? And then it says, we'll seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we'll recoil as from a hot flame. That's why I'm trying to encourage people that are hearing this. If you're not picking up no matter what, look, we're really, those of us that are delivered from it, I don't walk through the grocery store and avoid the liquor aisle. I don't care. I don't care if people are drinking around me. I don't care if they're smoking pot around me. Quite frankly, other than I don't like to be in those places, I don't care if they're slamming shit around me. Because I've had to go places where they were. I mean, I'm not going to linger there because it holds no interest to me, but I'm not tempted. And the very few times ever that I've been tempted to act in that way anyway, I have a natural reaction knowing who and what I am. That makes sense?
Yeah.
All right, so we react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. How many of you were prone to overreacting?
We did, yeah.
How many of you also had a similar trait of underreacting in really desperate circumstances? So that's another way we know that sanity has returned, when we're responding a little more like the rest of the world expects us to. Not entirely, because the world wants you to be mad at certain things, and as you grow in the spirit, you're just not. Anyway, we will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. You see how they said in one sentence, and we often read past it, what I've been trying to tell you. If you're struggling with the idea of using, then we need to back you up a few steps and get you encountered. Because you're not spiritually fit. I don't care how long you've been sober. Does it make sense? I know lots of people have been sober lots of years that struggle. I don't know how they do it, and I really hate to see it, right? And they're sober, but they're acting out in all other kind of ways, and they hate themselves for it. It's awful. Anyway, so that's the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. See, I'm not going to be a good servant to deliver this power to those that desperately need it if I got to avoid situations where people like me tend to end up when we're in it. Right? And then it says, we feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. Yeah, my friend Caesar reminded us this week that Paul speaks of the position of neutrality when he speaks of, I have learned the secret in all things, whether I'm in lack or in plenty. Yes?
Yes.
So that's a position of neutrality. I can do all things through him who strengthens me.
Yes.
Some of you are feeling that.
Power.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so we have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. We've focused on that a lot tonight, so a lot of people we're trying to break some chains, right? Don't be tethered to the idea that abstinence is the ceiling. It's the absolute floor. In fact, it's a byproduct of what you're going to grow into. All right, so it does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. So the fear is not driving me in the same way. Does it make sense?
Yes.
And then it says that is our experience. I think that's an important thing to focus on. These authors have made every effort to tell you how they thought, who they were, what their religious beliefs were, how they drank, and they're not witnessing to you as clinicians, although many of them were. They're witnessing to you as people who have been where you are, wherever it is you are. Yeah? Okay, so that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. So, if you're reacting, what's the, instead of going to the drink or the drug or the whatever other behavior, what's the thing to do? Am I fighting anything or anyone, right? Go back through the checklist. How many of you have known you had to go through something, but you didn't want to go through it?
Yeah.
And how many of you pretty much knew you were powerless? You were going through it. But I still don't want to.
Right.
How long did you suffer from the don't want-us? Right? So they're talking about real world stuff. Yeah? So it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. That's when someone says, have you prayed about it? And I go, well, that's just dumb. Oh, he could relieve you from all that mess, Joe, but he can't handle the route to work. He can't handle this silly little spat you're having with, name it. I remember my sponsor told me years ago, I said, those stupid people at the cell phone company, they've shut my phone off, and I know I paid that bill. That bill's wrong. He goes, well, you can be right, or you can be in communication, Joe. So what I'm saying is Joe spent a lot of time making his own problems, and he still does, but not as often. And I don't stay stuck there, and it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the power I've encountered because of this. Yeah? So we're headed for trouble if we do. Huh. Is that a warning? For alcohol is a subtle foe. You know, we can always tell the ones that are getting close to going off on something because they're restless, irritable, and discontent. And if we would be into our calling, we would pull them aside and say, hey, look, I can feel it on you. And you can be mad at me as you want to, but you can't lie to me without my permission, right? Okay, so we're not cured of alcoholism. See, they're telling you alcoholism has very little to do with alcohol at all, huh? It's a symptom of my underlying malady. So what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Why do I want to maintain a fit spiritual condition?
So I don't die.
It helps if you have some grounding, even if it's not your belief system, if you get some grounding in that other book. For we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. We wrestle with authorities and principalities in heavenly realms. And the weapons we use, which is what they're teaching, is how to arm ourselves for today, not with these, but with the fists of our mind, right? Power to demolish strongholds. And the strongholds are my thoughts about situations, my thought loops that keep me stuck in things I know aren't in my best interest, yes? So we take captive every thought and submit it to power within. Yes? Okay, and I didn't just make that up, guys. That was written down a couple thousand years ago. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Not that they're right, but where they're right, because there's a lot of wisdom there. Yeah? So then it says, every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into our. Well, I forgot to mention to you, if you're just tuning in, when I say God, they say power, because what we're trying not to do is offend anybody who's not kind of grown into. When we speak of this power, we're talking about power found within every man, woman, and child. And it presents itself as power, peace, happiness, a sense of direction flowing into us. And so what we don't want to do is block our consciousness of that power in and on our lives. which is why we're going to unpack as we go along rather than drag that stuff along like we did for so much of our lives. Yeah? So every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. So which day? And which activities? And you guys newer to this, you're going to think it's silly, but you won't in time. Right? Every day, because it's always now. All of my activities, because I'm always his. Yes?
Yes.
And then it says, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. The not mine's in parentheses, and I want you to pay attention to that. The authors did everything intentional. Why did they do that? Call attention to the fact that I do have a will apart from what God wills, but it has no power to change. I've got to align my thinking with what is. I may be a change agent, but not kicking and screaming as an infant. I'm going to have to get on board with what is and then get my direction from within, not from circumstance. Does that make sense? So, and if you don't talk in King James language, you can drop the these and thous. He already knows how you talk. If every third word is a curse word, feel free. Whatever it takes. He may clean you up one day, he may not. Anyway, these are thoughts which must go with us constantly. When? Constantly. How many of you have noticed as you started growing in the Spirit and really were making the effort to be kind and serve that you do have attack thoughts that make you less useful? How many of you have been gifted with a little bit better job than you got in early recovery, and now you're supervising others? You're trying to hold them to a standard you would maintain for yourself, and found out other humans do things differently and at a different pace. How many of you found that getting yelled at doesn't motivate one to do all the things we want them to do? So it says we can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It's the proper use of the will. So if I'm thinking constantly, your will be done, then by all means, I can walk into it. I can exercise my willpower. Does that make sense? Because I can assume I asked for it and it's there. Yeah? Learning to walk in faith, the manner of living. Does it make sense? And by the time you awaken, I'll show you by the end of this, the not mine will be gone. That makes sense? That'll go away. The idea that there's a will apart from God's will that can have any power. Yeah? All right, so much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. So think about what they're witnessing to you. These half of them atheists or agnostics in the beginning, and now acknowledging that this power, this well within them, has all knowledge and power. So what does that mean? How much do I have? That other book tells us, remain in the vine. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Okay, so if we have carefully followed directions, we've begun to sense the flow of his Spirit into us. See how they're talking about something sensory? We really, when you're working with the new guys, if they've struggled and you've already taken them through a third step prayer and a fourth step, and you've even heard a fifth step, and they're back, what did I do? What did I do? Don't start at one, start here. You're not keeping up with your disciplines, and you're not serving. That's what's happening. It has nothing. This isn't an intellectual exercise. There was no logic to why I kept drinking after my history. There was no logic why I was willing to surrender absolutely everything to feed an opiate addiction. So there's no sense in going back and revisiting it because it's not logical. I've had my encounter. Am I being faithful to the power restored me? If I'm not, right? Then I need to get busy serving. All right, so to some extent, we've become God conscious. Interesting use of words, to some extent. So what is God consciousness? Aware that I'm aware that there's something operating in me, but not of me. Right? How many of you have known that was operating in you, and then you decided to take it out for a walk and professed something on somebody or whatever, and you realized there was no power there. It was just you trying. Have you ever done that? Most of us have tried that, and we realize, oh, this wasn't what I was supposed to do. Okay, listen, anytime someone's speaking to you in the spirit, regardless of your belief, you're going to feel different in their presence. You'll feel it. And if you're awakened at all, they'll feel you. They'll know who you are and whose you are. All right, so we have begun to develop this vital sixth sense. Why is that consciousness vital? It is life, right? Right? It's your breath. It's everything that is the human existence. How many of you started seeing different, hearing different, feeling different? Yeah. All right, so, but we must go further, and that means more action. So they keep encouraging us to go more. Don't retrench. Don't go into complaining. Serve, serve, serve. All right, so step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. If you're going to ask, listen.
Yes.
How many of you are so busy asking and just never quit selling? You ever met that guy? He never quit selling. You don't know how to take yes for an answer, do you, Bob? So we shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. So what are the works that they're suggesting? Wake up, stay awake. Be in discourse with my Creator all day as I go along. Yes? All right, so it would be easy to be vague about this matter. How many of you are having revelations as we break this down and realize that people have showed you this before? We're very vague about this matter. People are vague because they don't know. They haven't put it into practice. It's very difficult to describe even for those of us who live in it because of its sensory nature. We can only encourage you, right? That if you'll practice these things, you'll find that you have progressive freedoms of your thinker. Yeah, thank God. So yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. So shall we dive into some of their?
Yep.
So when they say definite and valuable, if you'll put them into practice, you'll find value. And they're specific enough, anyone can put them into practice. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when we retire at night, we constructively review our day.
Right.
How many of you didn't do a lot of constructive reviews? Maybe destructively reviewed your day. Any of you live in remorse or hatred or resentment? Yeah, even self-loathing is that. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start acting our way into better thinking. And one of the ways we act is start constructively reviewing. That's why every meeting you go to, every third meeting, they're going to want to talk to you about gratitude. And you're going, what the fuck they want to talk about gratitude for? It's because I need to change my thinker and discipline it to be grateful for the breath I have and the opportunity to serve. And I got a bunch of people who've been to a lot of meetings. They all chuckle because they've all had that, another gratitude. You know, hit that sucker with a stick. All right, so when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Now, that's what I was supposed to be looking for all day long as I went along. But now I'm getting ready to stop, and I realized maybe I didn't keep up. Any of you? The authors told us over and over, hey, we're not saints. The point is we're willing to grow. And the way you grow is you get your rest by unburdening before you lay down, acknowledge that you could have done better, and some things you did fine, and usually when it went really well, you weren't thinking of you at all. And then you can have honest prayers, yes? So it says, do we owe an apology? Sometimes you might, you may not. It may just be in your thought life, right? This is a time if you're sponsoring somebody and they're really doing okay, they'll gloss over a lot of this stuff, and that's why they'll be in their struggles. They're not in their disciplines. They haven't internalized it. So you guys that are working with guys that have been at it a little while and you're starting to see them fall off, I mean, pay attention. They're not in their disciplines. And walk them back through their disciplines. It's okay. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But one of the things is if you get in discipline and you start living this way, no one will have to coach you. But you may not know it until you've tried to do some stuff, right? All right, so have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? That little sentence is why I always recommend, if you're working with people and you get them to this point, have them call you every day for 30 days and do a review and teach them how to do a constructive review, not a destructive review, right? And they'll either call you every day for 30 days or they won't make anywhere near that. But either way, if you know you got one calling, you'll be ready to have yours to share.
It's true. It's true.
So were we kind and loving toward all? That's a question I asked me. And a lot of times I got the new guy and I said, kind and loving toward all? Yep, kind and loving. Yep, that's me. And I'm like, okay, and your thoughts? Oh, yeah, ouch, exactly. Okay, so we got work to do, right? This isn't always about how I act. It's always about how I think. I'll realize that I'm acting better than I think. And then in time, in discipline, I'll think better. Do not conform to the ways of this world. Rather be transformed through the renewal of your mind. You want that promise? Do these things.
Was that thing my way into better acting? So better acting?
I'm sorry?
You said I'll think my way into better acting?
No, we act our way into better thinking. We've been in our addiction, we try and think our way into better acting. Right? And it doesn't work because we don't have cognitive skills. We're retarded in that way. Well, I mean, I was an opiate addict, right? And I was fine with pills or, whatever. It didn't matter. So I'd go to an AA meeting and someone would say, now, when you take your medicine, you just take it exactly as directed and you'll be fine. And what they don't understand about the likes of me is every bottle of liquor I ever polished off said, drink responsibly. Now, I either had a different definition of that.
Right.
So when I get a pain pill prescription, take it as the doctor directed, it says PRN, as needed. So all I'm trying to say is be careful who you talk to in your audience, because if you don't have this lived experience, someone told me one time, I'll hold your prescription for you, Joe. And I said, I wouldn't want you to do that because I would slit your throat and take it in the middle of the night. Make sure I didn't step in your blood because I don't want to get caught. And I have grown to like you. So some of you people think I'm kidding, and some of you have known me long enough to know, no, he's not. Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? How many of you have learned that when I'm stuck in me, that life does not go well?
Yeah.
Life gets really small really fast, yeah? So, or were we thinking of what we could do for others? How many of you have learned that's the escape? Turn your thoughts to others, a window opens to your consciousness and new power flows in every time. Watch, ask, discuss, turn. And then it says of what we could pack into the stream of life. It isn't about what I can take from this situation. It's what am I getting from this situation? And if I don't think I'm getting anything at all, then am I at least growing spiritually enough to not share that experience with whoever it is I'm spending time with? You ever just told people how boring they were? Did you notice they didn't appreciate it? It was that Clancy gave the whole story that one time about he saved up the thing to tell people that he was boring, or he said that he was boring. The guy said, "You're boring. You're bored because you're boring."
Right, yeah.
Right?
Kind of a boring guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. So now you guys that are into self-harm, that you guys that are into punishing yourselves in various ways, the euphoria you get from that kind of stuff becomes an obsession. For those of you guys that are driven by rage, you start to get your fix from allowing yourself to rage. Yes? So and then those of us that are just self-pity addicts, that I can justify anything as long as I know it's not my fault. That's the morbid reflection. Does that make sense? I meet two types of people when I get through an inventory. The ones who say, yep, selfish, that's me. And the ones that tell me, no, I'm always thinking of others. I'm the most selfless individual I know. Let me tell you how selfless I am. Look, I got a photo album of me being selfless. We need to do the inventory and make a decision later, okay? So after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. So if I'm asking, I'm expecting, yes?
Yeah.
And those of you that don't understand, if you're coming from a place where you don't like the word God, I'm asking for divine forgiveness because human forgiveness is not divine forgiveness. I hear people say, I need to forgive myself. No, you don't. You need to believe in the one he sent. There's been a transaction made for you down through the ages. He traded your sin for his righteousness. So all you need to do is wake up in it. Does that make sense? So on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. Now, wait a minute. They said, ask what corrective measures should be taken, and they took me right to on awakening. Why did that happen? Any of you ever get a download in your sleep and you realized if you didn't do something with that idea right away, it would go away? Or you ever had the experience, well, that was brilliant. I'm going to just go pee, and then I'm going to write that down. And the minute you get up and do that, it's gone. Huh? How many of you have gotten revelation in the dream state? A lot of time. And we don't even know that's what it is, right? All right, so we consider our plans for the day before we begin. So before we begin what?
Plans for the day.
Yeah, don't plan without knowledge, right? All knowledge and power, right? All right, so we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives.
Character defects.
Or just unhealthy, limiting thoughts. I mean, there are defects basically when I'm not learning to discern them, right?
But those are specific.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, the dishonesty I got to worry about is the lie I tell me. I can't lie to you until I've first lied to me. Because I've determined that you can't handle the truth, or I can't handle you knowing the truth, or something. Okay, so under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. So what does it mean that I can employ my mental faculties with assurance?
You trust your own thinking.
Yeah, in fact, I should be thinking more, right? Now that sanity's been restored, I need to consider, yes?
Yes.
So you notice if you go into old AA halls anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, there's going to be a sign on the wall somewhere that says, think, think, think. They want you to wake up first, but then, does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So it says, after all, God gave us brains to use. So our thought life, which is how we live out our entire life, folks, we're spiritual beings on a human journey. So we live out our whole life in our thought life. And so if I can make the highway of my thoughts straight, then my roads are straight. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it says our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. So how did I clear of wrong motives?
Ask God to direct my
Direct my thinking, especially that it be divorced to self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. You don't have to be particularly religious to say that. And you don't have to wait till the end of the day. Every time you go into a situation that you know you sometimes find yourself annoyed there, start saying that to yourself. Any of you go into situations where you know you're going to meet people and they're going to be annoying? You guys, you young mothers that are raising kids and you know that they're being kids, but you want them to act like 20-year-olds right now because I'm doing something, right? So I'm going to need that. If you're the person that goes in the grocery store and still has a tractor beam to the liquor cabinet, then walk through there in this prayer. Because you can't serve and live under the bush, right? Okay, so in thinking about our day, we may face indecision. Any of you ever had that happen? Okay, so notice how they said this would be specific. So there's really good instruction here. So we may not be able to determine which course to take. So they first said indecision, then they told you what that looked like. I don't know. I've got all these options, and I don't know which one to take. Yes? It says here, where? At the intersection of where do I go? Yes? We ask God for inspiration. Now, that's not just God inspire me, but they tell me how it's going to come to me. So I ask expecting, and it comes to me as an intuitive thought or decision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then it says we relax and take it easy. Why?
Because he's in charge. The meditating part of it.
Sometimes we're so anxious to move in the direction we've already predetermined that we're asking us a box to check. And sometimes the answer we get is not what we were hoping for. And nonetheless, it's the right answer. Have you ever got the right answer and then thought you needed to go back in?
We revise that.
So I need to quiet my mind enough to receive instruction and not just act. And again, I've got power in me to demolish those strongholds and pull them down and submit them to the power within me for good. Yeah. But I'm going to have to participate in that. So it says, we're often surprised how the right answers come after we've tried this for a while. So you may be surprised that all of a sudden you're not struggling as much. And you may be surprised that someone else notices you're not struggling as much. That's usually what happens. Someone asks, well, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it because you're a whole lot different than you once were. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it's not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. Why did they warn us about that?
Because we're going to screw things up.
Yeah, and we're not always we're going to feel like we're left out. You know, why have you forsaken me? It's going to happen. That's why we got promises, right? We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. To Sean's point, I may get an inspiration in the spirit and then think that's crazy. And I won't know if it was until I try it, right? All right, so nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration we come to rely on. The spirit within, inspiration, inspiritus. When we talk about, I want to be led in the spirit from within me and not by the circumstances of the world. All right, so we usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that would be shown all through the day what our next step is to be. That we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no request for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We're careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. I like to point out to people, you may not, depending on where you are in the journey, easily see why. But a lot of things I didn't want to do, when I did do them, it empowered me. My guilt, shame, and remorse were removed when I found out I actually could do things I didn't want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we've been discussing. Those of you that have gotten all of your spirituality in 12-step rooms, you probably got little 3rd-step prayers, 7-step prayers, right? Okay, so there are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. So they're focusing you on, be quick to see where religious people are right. See if you can align your experience with what they're talking about. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. And you now have the power to think for yourself, but that means you're going to have to read for yourself. Does it make sense? Don't let someone else tell you what that book says any more than don't let me tell you what this book says. You get mesmerized and you get lazy, and then you just let old Joe tell you what the book says. Well, then you've given old Joe power to think for you. I wouldn't. I don't think for Joe without checking with boss, dude. So as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful. So now they're getting specific again. Okay, so, and when they talk about agitated, guys, it's not just angry. As you grow in the Spirit, you're going to find opportunities to serve, and you're going to have to pay attention to the stirring within you, because you'll see people that you're supposed to go tie up with to show patience, love, kindness, tolerance, whatever. Yeah. All right. So we constantly remind ourselves that we're no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." Notice the "not mine's" gone. In an awakened state, I know there is no will apart from God. At least none that can prevail, right? We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. So, if that's happening, what does that mean? I'm probably living at least a certain amount of time in a life of acceptance of things as they are, and trying to be see what I can pack in rather than get out. Yes? And it says we become much more efficient. How many of you found you had more time in your day because you weren't fighting with every little thing you had to do? Yep. So we do not tire so easily, for we're not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works. It really does. Another promise that ought to be hung on the wall. Right? You want to get awake and stay awake. If you're struggling with your thinker, it's because you're lacking discipline in your prayer and meditation. And not going to a room and banging a gong, that's fine if you want to do it. But that's not what this is. This is about walking in the world with these eyes open. All right, so we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we let God discipline us in the simple way we've just outlined. I'm going to get told no. I'm going to get told not yet. I'm going to be told not that way. I'm going to be told, I know that's what you think it looks like, but that's not what it looks like. I'm going to get told all of that in the Spirit. And the longer I cling to how I think it should be instead of get on board with what is, that's precisely how long I suffer. All right, so, but that's not all. There is action and more action. See, I don't have to stay stuck in prayer and meditation. Its sole purpose is my GPS to go find people I can help.
Yes.
And then it says the next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12, which is why they put the steps in order. Interesting. All right, thanks much. Wow, 2 buttons to push. I don't know if I can.